Metal Gear Solid 3 is a game that needs no introduction, but I'll give one anyways. It's a masterfully done game that reminds me of Resident Evil 4, in which the game doesn't have many flaws. New players to either series can sit down and play these games without having to know any big story beats from previous entries, making them great starting points to the franchises. I'm one who likes to start from the first release, but the point still stands. The gameplay in both are also a step away from previous entries, focusing more on giving the player freedom to move the camera wherever they want. This allows the gameplay to expand to bigger scenes and events. This was an all-around net positive for both games. They both let you explore the bigger and wider maps available, but that doesn't mean fixed camera was obsolete. Fixed camera angles allowed the developers to know where exactly the player is going to look, no matter what. This made it possible to set up events that can only be made with fixed camera angles. In Resident Evil 2, leading up to the reveal of the liquor, the camera angles take you through multiple shots, one from outside the building making it seem like you're being watched. The following camera angles don't show off whatever is at the end of the hallway, until we see a pile of blood. This kind of suspense is just not possible with over the shoulder. In the remake, the liquor just plops down on the floor because that's all the camera allows. The remake of the game took away one of its most coolest features.
Holy shit!
My biggest issue with remakes is with change. Most remakes are done by developers who didn't work on the original game because those developers are either retired or working on new and more interesting things. This usually makes the developers not think the same way about certain aspects and change the game from how it was originally envisioned. Fixed camera Resident Evil is long dead, so even though the original Resident Evil 1 remake got insane praise, Capcom doesn't believe there's an audience for that type of style anymore. They're even considering remaking Resident Evil 1 again. The fixed camera angles were a product of its time, yes, but it still doesn't mean that they should be outright gutted. Fixed cameras are a gameplay style. You simply don't get the same experience between the two. Developers took the hardware limitations and worked with them. Remakes shouldn't try to make a game something that it isn't, but embrace it for what it is. As you know, Metal Gear Solid 3 is getting a remake next month, and for the first time, the Metal Gear series is going forward without the man himself, Hideo Kojima, as him and many of his co-workers such as Yoji Shinkawa have abandoned ships to Kojima Productions after his release. But just because he left the company doesn't mean Metal Gear is done. Konami is a company at the end of the day that makes pachinko machines and video games, so of course this was bound to happen. Kojima was preparing to let go of the series as early as Metal Gear Solid 2, so this is a long time in the making, but some of the same worries is here more than ever. It's obvious that making a new installment in the series without Kojima would be a bit of a hard task, so they decided to remake the most popular game in the series. It makes sense as a business idea, but starting players at the third installment of the Solid series in my opinion is not right. The Metal Gear Solid series is one I believe to be best experienced in release order, because despite 3 having way less necessary knowledge compared to the other games, some parts of the story still benefit from having prior knowledge. After beating Metal Gear Solid 2, you're left wondering, who are the Patriots? What is their backstory? What was Big Boss really like? With those questions in mind, you jump into 3, and as you play, they become answered. Going into 3 as your first game, you're not going to have those questions. It makes the experience worse simply because that's not how Kojima intended on the player viewing the story. Metal Gear Solid 1 had multiple plot points from the MSX games, but those were all because of reoccurring characters. Don't get me wrong, Metal Gear Solid 3 is still perfectly enjoyable as a standalone game, but I believe it's better to have played the first 2 Solid games before playing, and I recommend all newcomers to do that. But despite the downsides of remaking 3, from what we've seen so far in the recent Silent Hill 2 remake, this looks like to be one of the most faithful remakes we've ever seen. The moment I saw the updated Snake Eater intro with a brand new rendition from the original actress, Cynthia Harrell, I could tell this was being made by people who care about Metal Gear. Kojima may be gone, but there are still people from his era at Konami working and understanding his legacy. It seems like Konami's bossy higher-ups have become a little more laid back as of late, letting more money into projects and less mingling. This is shocking, coming from the same company who fired the man himself and the company that made the Silent Hill HD collection. I am not letting that go. It's like they're acting like they weren't complete assholes for the past 10 years. The voice acting, story beats, cutscenes, most music, it's all taken directly from the original. The developers seem to know exactly what is right and quote-unquote wrong with Metal Gear Solid 3. Obviously, the graphics have been overhauled to look like a modern release, and they look outstanding. The charm of the PS2s is something that will always be my favorite, but this style keeps the expression of the original while maintaining that realism. The lip syncing in the original was a joke, and made them look like Star Fox 64 characters at times.
Are you one of Vulcan's men?
I've come to escort you back to the other side of the Iron Curtain.
I guess I should be thankful.
So I'm happy to see the lip syncing get greatly improved here. Sadly, the company that worked on the stellar graphics has already been shut down, so who knows what the next Metal Gear will look like. The cost of having realism is a worry about performance. Delta is using the wonderfully polished engine known as Unreal Engine 5. An engine where even with my high-end computer, I can't even run Fortnite with a stable frame rate. This is one of my biggest fears since the Silent Hill 2 remake also had a rough launch on PC. It's annoying to see them use Unreal Engine 5 when the Fox engine is right there, but I understand why they wouldn't want to use a 10-year-old engine. This especially sucks because Kojima is using the wonderfully optimized Decimal engine, which has possibly made the most stunning visuals I've ever seen in a video game. When you advertise a game that is releasing on PC, you need to back it up with a finished product, or you're just plain sloppy. People at the new playtesting event said it was rock solid, but we won't know for sure with many PC builds until we can play it. The fact that the game still uses loading screens for every area is a good thing for performance though. Hopefully that's what makes the game run well. I'll be interested to see if they put the Metal Gear Solid main theme in Delta. After 3, Konami was accused of stealing it. We all know plagiarism is bad, but the main theme of Metal Gear is probably the most important song in the series. It's the main one after all. I understand if it's gone, but it wouldn't be the same without it. Delta is a rare occasion where we can actually see the original game in both fixed and free third-person angles. Unlike Resident Evil 2, Metal Gear Solid 3 almost suffered because of fixed camera angles. The scale and size of the maps in 3 far exceeded Metal Gear Solid 2's window perspective. They zoomed out the camera and allowed you to move it slightly, but even these didn't solve the issues. It worked in 1 and 2 because of the small layouts, but here, not so much. Enemies could still spot you from far off camera, requiring you to go in first person mode way too much. Delta will have a legacy mode, where it's the original fixed cameras without the option to change it on the fly, and a new style which is very similar to Metal Gear Solid 5. This was done because the new controls made the original game so batshit easy that they had to bump up the difficulty. I'm a little sad I can't change it instantaneously anymore, but I understand why they changed it. The new revamped controls aren't something that looks like it's taking away from the original style of the game. It looks more like streamlining and smoothing out bumps caused by the old control scheme. I've always wished for a linear Metal Gear Solid 5, and it looks like that's what I'm getting. A new mode in Delta is called Metal Gear Fox Hunt, which looks promising, but the fact that they haven't even said what the game mode is a little concerning. I have never personally played Metal Gear Online since I wasn't around for it, but I was hoping to see it make a comeback. Whatever Fox Hunt is gonna be, people are still gonna clamor for Metal Gear Online's return. But with the fact that they haven't even said what the game mode is yet, I have a feeling they might just go back to Metal Gear Online, because it seems like even they don't know what they're doing. That brings me with another concern. The game is less than 2 weeks away, and the lack of information we have gotten about a remake is a little strange. This is a game we have already played, so I don't understand why you should hide so much of the game before release. Konami, the game was spoiled 2 decades ago. It's okay to show off a little bit more. With the recent pop-up event in, I think, New York City, we've gotten to hear about more news and gameplay, but not from footage, just from word of mouth. They didn't allow recording in there for some reason. Just a weird move by Konami. It is not some big new story, we have seen this before. One thing I'll give Konami credit for is that they made every mainline Metal Gear game available on modern hardware, except for the obvious. Sony remade Demon's Souls for the PS5, but basically just said, we don't care about the original, this is what you should care about now, which is just a slap in the face to the Demon's Souls legacy. If you want to play the original Metal Gear Solid 3, you can, which is a very good thing. Despite what people think about Metal Gear Solid 3, it's not actually flawless. Stuff like the cure system being totally disruptive during gameplay is still a problem, and wildlife is still a second option compared to rations. The benefits of remakes is being able to fix what didn't work. But with how faithful this remake is, I doubt we'll see any changes like that. It's a shame to see because if those changes were implemented, it would greatly improve the experience, and this would be the definitive version of the game by far. On the topic of me bitching and moaning, we have my issue of gyro controls. In Metal Gear Solid 5, I use a control scheme made by the YouTuber Neryl that enables motion controls whenever you hold down the left trigger, via Steam input. Only problem with it is that the only reason why it works is because pressing down the trigger makes the entire controller act like a mouse and keyboard. So no 360-degree movement when I press down. I wish more games could just enable this as a feature so you wouldn't have to go through the hassle of Steam input. Aiming in the Metal Gear Solid series has always been more difficult than it should be in my opinion, and that's just because of the control sticks. Here's me aiming with the sticks, struggling to hit a single headshot. Then here's me playing on a keyboard and mouse. Gyro controls let you have the best of both worlds, and judging by how no one talks about this definitely won't get added in Delta. Delta is looking to be one of the most promising remakes of all time. Metal Gear Solid 3 I'd say was a game made right at the start of the modernization of controls and movement for all games going forward. Over the shoulder and free cam camera controls wasn't a mainstream thing at the time. 3's gameplay, without even realizing it, was evolving into that scheme. That's why when they later updated the original game to add free cam, it worked so well. It's part of the reason why I think Delta is one of the safest remakes I've ever seen. The formula already had room for easy improvement. Also, with what they're doing, there's no need to worry about different gameplay styles. Both of them are here. The voice actors are all here, no Persona 4 revival drama. Base Metal Gear Solid 3 is so timeless that a remake like this embraces everything about it and more. That might be an effect of the game being released much later than something like Resident Evil 2, but it still shows how little the base game had to change for a remake. It's the one entry in the series that I felt most comfortable about Konami remaking. No flaws, just remake the flawless. I can't remember the last time I've been this excited for a game, let alone a remake. So when August 28th comes around, let's hope that 10-year wait from Konami was worth it.
You sound